More than a decade after Gossip Girl left the airwaves, Leighton Meester is still reflecting on her time as Blair Waldorf, arguably one of the most iconic characters in teen drama history. And while fans remain divided over Blair's many romances, Meester recently opened up about one particular moment that still holds a soft spot in her memory: the unexpected first kiss between Blair and Dan Humphrey. "I did like that," Meester shared during a nostalgic conversation on a podcast celebrating classic teen dramas. "It was a different energy, totally unexpected. Blair and Dan were always on opposite sides, so it was kind of thrilling to explore that tension in a new way." The scene in question aired during Season 5, when Blair and Dan, once rivals, constantly at odds, find themselves drawn together through a shared love of art, literature, and dry wit. Their kiss, set against the backdrop of a rainy New York afternoon, was a turning point for the characters and for the show. For some viewers, it felt like a bold, refreshing twist. For others, it was blasphemy to pair Blair with anyone but Chuck Bass. Meester acknowledged the passionate fan reactions. People were either completely on board or totally horrified. There was no middle ground. But that's what made it fun. It sparked real conversation. The kiss marked the beginning of a brief but impactful relationship arc between Blair and Dan, dubbed Dare by fans, which diverged sharply from the show's central romantic endgame of Chuck and Blair. While some viewers felt Dan and Blair brought out a more grounded, intellectually compatible side of each other, others believed their bond lacked the electric chemistry that defined Chuck and Blair's turbulent love story. "I think it was nice to see Blair with someone who challenged her in a new way," Meester said. "Dan saw her as more than a queen bee. He respected her intelligence, and I think Blair needed that at that point in the story." Behind the scenes, the pairing also gave Meester a chance to act opposite Penn Badgley in a more intimate, emotionally nuanced way than earlier seasons allowed. The duo, who spent much of the series' early run in a verbal sparring dynamic, found fresh ground to cover in their characters' evolving friendship-turned-romance. "It was exciting because it was unexpected," Meester reflected. "We got to play with quieter moments, and Penn was so fun to work with in those scenes." Still, the show's writers ultimately steered Blair back to Chuck, leaning into the epic, love-hate saga that had fueled much of Gossip Girl's drama since Season 1. The finale saw Blair and Chuck married with a young son, cementing their place as the show's primary couple. Even so, the Dare chapters remain a cult favorite for some viewers who appreciated the emotional maturity the relationship brought out in both characters. "I get why the writers went back to Chuck," Meester said. "That relationship was so entrenched in the DNA of the show. But I think Dan and Blair showed a version of her that was really grounded. There's something nice about that." Today, Meester looks back on her Gossip Girl years with a mix of affection and amusement. Though she's moved on to other projects, including music, film, and motherhood, she still feels grateful for the stories the show told and the characters it brought to life. "Blair was such a fun role, so sharp, so layered," she said. "She made mistakes, but she also grew. Playing her was one of the great joys of my life." As for whether she'd ever return to the Gossip Girl universe in some capacity, Meester remains open, but non-committal. "Never say never," she teased. "But for now, I'm happy just remembering those little moments, like that kiss."